What is up, pod fiends? It is another Thursday, another beautiful day to sit down and hang out with us, the Caffeinds. I am your host, WillProduces. With me, as always, is the Big Daddy P himself, PerkFGC, and our guest this week is a founding member of the Caffeinds, Ixlock, aka Lucas Deichel. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. Happy to be here. Happy to represent.
Hell
Of
yeah,
course,
man.
glad to have you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers to that.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Got respect for the bow tie in the chat there. I like it.
There's the big bow tie energy. It's a vibe.
Yes.
As is tradition,
Right.
it's time to cheers the caffeinated drink of choice. So you guys are classier than me today. I'm going full Kyle energy with my monster. Here we go. Bless up, guys.
Cheers.
And my phone is playing the stream. That's great. Cool.
Excellent.
So,
Echo. Love
what
it.
is this show, guys? This is our weekly Destiny podcast where we catch up with all the happenings in the game of Destiny 2, and also with the fun stuff that we get to do as the Caffeinds clan. Perk is our fearless leader, and you know it's great to have another like core member of the like original Caffeinds here to really like. I'm just super interested in what it was like back in the day forming the group together.
Tell us, Dad. Yeah, it was. I'll lead it in, and then I can let Luke take this.
Sure.
We pretty much as soon I remember being at work and seeing like there was like a tweet or like an email that Bungie allowed the creation of guilds. I don't think they even had like their official name for them yet. And I remember it was the official Halo app on my phone that transferred into the Destiny app. And they're like, hey, the Destiny app's live. Like you can go and claim your, guild name and stuff. So I was like, oh, cool. I was like, I'm sure we'll need this at some point. So I was like, let me just go make one. So I made one, and I think I sent it to Lucas and a few a few others of us. And I was like, hey, join the thing, because I remember you needed like 5 people to join to make it like official before you.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then we've been playing together since the alpha. I remember the first time that I was in the tower with Lucas. I didn't know the distinction between the classes and their class items. So Lucas had the Iron Banner cloak on, and I was like, wait, like we need to play together. Like,
oh, right, that's right, because you didn't know what it was.
Yeah, because I was playing a warlock and a titan, and I didn't play the hunter in the alpha, and I was like, wait, how did you get a cloak? I was like, I want a cloak. Why does he have that? It's got this on it. Like, what's up with that? Lucas and I had played Halo long before Destiny was even a thing. And I remembered we had like a little group chat going to try to figure out. I remember us having the discussion of like, which console are we playing this on? Because we were playing obviously Halo on Xbox 360. And I remember we were talking about the article that you saw the exclusives. It was the Monte Carlo and like the Hawk Moon being like the PlayStation exclusives. And so we're like, all right, like I guess we'll play it on PlayStation, because switch it up, and there's some exclusives for Destiny this game that we were looking to get into. So that's the big memories for me from the start of this whole thing. In the summer, I think actually we're almost at a clan birthday. I think it's July 28th or something like that. So we're coming up on the birthday.
This is year 6.
I'll dig that up. Yeah.
Well, it also used to be a different name too. Don't forget that.
It did have a different name.
What was it?
So the first name was Geometry. That was the first. I was like, it was at the point where we didn't really have these stuff in gaming yet, and we were still kind of like messing around with it. So it was called Geometry. Then we became the Isosceles, like instead of Isosceles.
Gamer.
Like 1 through 7. I think we can actually thank Haro Gorgeous for that recommendation. I'm almost positive he had something to do with
probably. Yeah.
That sounds like a Peter joint.
It definitely does. It absolutely does. So we were Isosceles, because we kept going on like the math thing and like Destiny, all this like geometry and like different kind of like shapes and cool like different stuff to do with it. So we went there. We were the Grape Street Slingers for like 3 days.
A hot minute. I think there was a rebellion really quick on that one.
That was our teen phase. That was our teen angst phase.
Yeah, it was definitely like
and then
angst. clan at the time.
Honestly, it was at some point during, I want to say, the Taken King era of D1 that we switched over, and I was like, you know what, like we were kind of bouncing back and forth on names, and I was like, yeah, we're kind of like serious, like in this game, like we're like serious, like casuals still, but like I was like, we need a good defining name, that like something that sticks, something that works. And I remember like I was just throwing different names into the app just to see like what you could get, and I was like, let me get Caffeinds, because like we all like caffeine, right? Like you know, drinking coffee is the essence; it's in my blood. And we all drink like caffeinated drinks to some degree for whatever, right?
There are a lot of coffee drinkers. Myself as a tea drinker. In case you can't tell, bow tie. Feel like it's very tea.
Super refined, Lucas over
Super
here.
refined tea.
So I was just like, caffeine is something everybody can jive on, and I was like, let's do Caffeinds, because it's like fiend, like a little like thing. It's a little mascot, as you see with our logo. And yeah, it kind of stuck, and so we've been that definitely since Taken King era.
Yeah,
doing that. We've been sipping on them since that long. So
hell yeah. All right, now Lucas, let's open up to you to talk a little bit more about yourself and what you do, how you game.
I used to game a lot more than I do now. As everybody in the clan I think knows at this point, I am a new dad, so that's actually a thing. I have my daughter Mazarine is actually upstairs, probably watching Coco Melon right now or something. So I got I got off a little early now to come do this, which is nice. But yeah, so I used to play like a lot more. It was definitely down here a lot, or not specifically here, new house, but definitely playing a lot of more video games than I do. And now I play when I can, and I'm happy that I can still actually play with a lot of the same people. These games that I, used to play a lot more of, but now I still can, which is great. Like I still get to raid, I still get to, get the best items that I want. Everybody's able to help, which I think is part of the reason why I love being in this clan, is because everybody's really helpful, especially if you're not there all the time, which is good. So I think that's good. Also, Hunter main, in case anybody wants to know, Hunter is life. There are no others. That was
strong words. I think we're actually balanced on the podcast this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm okay. Fire team. So we're a fire team right now, which is
welcome,
fine.
Welcome to the Caffeine Vanguard.
Yeah. There's the Vanguard right there.
We got it.
Yeah.
See, Warlock is life in the chat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Warlock is life for some, but not for me. I prefer being actually able to jump, not float to my death.
I have died,
which has happened to a lot of Warlocks.
All right. So before we move on to our standard topics, I do want to call out that this week we are going to have a special giveaway with details at the end of the show. We're giving away a whole year of Xbox Live Gold. We'll give you details on that if you stick around to the end. But Lucas, we ask all of our guests here at the Caffeinds Cast, once I stop clipping, what have you been grinding this week?
Definitely moments of triumph. I saw we have a lot of raids we got to get done. I've unfortunately had to do strikes again. Not my favorite activity, but it's for the moment, so I'm gonna do it. I got like 4 done yesterday, and Peter was there and he heard me, having a good time with it.
I think I was in Discord for a little bit of that. I think I caught the back end of that. And Peter leaving it. Shout outs to Hero Gorgeous in the chat. How about you, Perk?
I know that I put down Betty Davis eyes on our thing because I wanted to make a terrible pun about Sabathun eyes. But I'm working on the Sabathun exotic. I know everybody got it like Monday and Tuesday. I kind of threw it to the side because we're gonna get into it in a minute. But one of our dearest clan members is still in need of the Anarchy exotic. I have been blessed with it. Now we have a way to endlessly grind for it. So I have the checkpoint for the boss. We ran up a full run, and we actually taught Queen how to do the raid. And aside from dying in the Sparrow part, we didn't wipe at all.
We would have done flawless. Like we got to take Queen on every raid from now on.
I was gonna say she's good luck.
She is good luck.
But so we ran, I think, six 6 was our total runs, and we're trying to get that anarchy. So the reason that my grinding was kind of off to the side is I wanted to make sure those raids. I wanted to get X Guardian his anarchy, or at least have as many chances of it as possible.
Yes.
So for me this week, this is all about raids, getting the Savathun eyes for everybody, getting just whatever we're doing for Moments of Triumph in general, all that stuff, because we're going to come up on Solstice in a bit, which I almost forgot even was going to be a thing. So I'm glad I remembered that. So we definitely Moments of Triumph is what I'm going to go with. Moments / Savathun eyes.
All about the shirt grind for me. There's also, I really dove deep into the new narrative content. I got spoiled by, I think, like a lore video that the data mined what happens to the 4 vendors that you talked to throughout that. So I wanted to see if that was just happening, like if they just blew their load, for lack of a better term, in week 1, and they didn't. Or so it seems that the evacuation quest is going to be an ongoing thing, and I think we can jump right into talking about that. I really actually kind of enjoyed doing evacuation. It was, I said it earlier in chat, it was like perfect amount of tediousness. Like, it personified to me, like, this is the Destiny MMO equivalent of, like, go kill boars, get boar skins, return the thing, and didn't get old as compared to some of the other quest lines we've had.
I would agree with that too. I actually accidentally started doing that quest thinking that it was the one for the new exotic. But I was just like, hey, this is not too bad. Like, this feels like we're going and we're doing the stuff. I wish there was a little bit more vocal narrative over the top of it, kind of like when we were in House of Wolves, where we had Petra like talking to us as we were doing stuff.
Right.
Some of that stuff. Like, we were checking in with each vendor. It's nice to kind of like have that final, like, hey, like, the ships are here. We don't know what's gonna happen, but we should pack up and
someone goes to the jukebox in the Tangled store and starts playing Closing Time by Semisonic.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of it, honestly. Like, it gives a good, like, feeling. I really liked that they started with the whole 2.5 hour like voyage of the Almighty crashing behind the tower. It feels like the world's a little more like alive, I guess, now, and that's something that they've always kind of like worked to try to do. And obviously we love Destiny for its lore and things like that, but we are pretty much everyone's always gripe was like, give me a little bit more of that life while I'm doing it, like stuff like
Right.
I love these weekly story quests where we're actually down on Io on that little mounting plate, so to speak, that I call it, for the traveler, like where it last touched the planet. And it kind of feels like we're building some new traveler-esque thing or something like that, like the trees having like leaves and stuff. It's dope. It's really cool, and I like kind of what they're doing with it, and I know I'm kind of like encompassing the whole thing. But I think this season's kind of a hit, right? That's the big thing.
It's definitely the like you see like the pillars starting to be placed for the world building that seems like is going to actually happen, which I think is going to be pretty cool. To actually see all that and see, well, what happens next? We have ideas of what happens next. There's speculation about what happens next, but I'm just super excited to see what happens next, because one of the things I've always wanted in Destiny is I want more story in game and not have to go out and, I mean, I love going to see videos online and everything, but I'd like to also be able to get some of that in the game, so I don't have to go out to find wait, why did I do this? Oh, this is why. It's cool, but
Yeah, I want 110% agree with you. And I feel like our clan's pretty much all on that same page too. It's like we love how much there is, and I really appreciate the other content creators and stuff that kind of come together to do these little things. I was talking with a good friend about I was showing him light.gg, which is a great utility if you haven't used it. And I always used it basically to check the possibility for rolls on weapons to see what perks come on them and stuff, which is great. And you have like a little voting feature and stuff that's on there and stuff. But I noticed, because I hit the homepage for it, I was like, oh wait, it's a Friday, and it showed where Xur was and what the roles are and everything that he had in Xur's inventory. And I was like, the fact that Bungie made this API is awesome. And we're going back a little bit forth on it. And he was mentioning that, like, why couldn't this just be in game? And honestly, it's a little bit interesting to me because, like, it could be in game and it could be simplified a little bit. By the same token, it would have taken a lot of development away from other stuff. And it would have taken a lot of man hours to do it. And I kind of do like this open, like, it's just the API that they created where it's like, hey, you want to make something? Here it is. Here's the data. Here's the stuff that you can use in whatever way that you think would be, memorable. Since we're harkening back to D1, I remember every Friday there was someone who tried, like, they were trying to guess the loot that Xur would have to show up on Fridays in D1 and stuff like that. So it kind of gives that.
Oh, right. There was
It feels
somebody who
like
was,
a coming around, coming to fruition of all these little things that we did have. So I like all that stuff.
All right. Yeah. Well, let's move on to the Ruinous Effigy quest. Have you guys both acquired the weapon yet?
Yes, acquired the weapon. Really enjoying it so far. I actually I think Sean is still on the I like this gun train. At least last I heard the other day he was. But I actually really like it. I like, lasering things and then grabbing this little orb and then, running in, doing like a couple punches and then boom, slam, and the whole everything just goes away. I think it's a lot of fun.
Have you guarded with it yet?
Yeah. That's also
dope. Yeah, I've been having fun doing just like crazy AoE with it.
You just go in, you're like,
it's
cool.
Awesome. The reason I gave a thumbs down while I was taking a sip is not that I don't like the gun. I think it's awesome, and I have always been the biggest proponent of trace rifles. I love them since Cold Heart. Like,
and I've been anti
over Cold Heart. Like, I used Cold Heart in Crucible. I use Cold Heart like everywhere. Like, I just love that gun. I have easily, even though it's not been like a meta in a while, I've got to have like 1,000+ kills on mine. Just casually running around and using it and stuff. But because, like I mentioned earlier, we didn't get a chance to do it because of the raids and stuff. So I was just working on it before we started the podcast. So I'm going to finish it up tonight. I helped the Bartleys get through. We did the eyes in the dungeon last night.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we did the eyes. And then we got the. I actually have all the eyes now. Now that I think about it, I was waiting on one, but I realized I'd missed one when we were going on and grabbing them the other day.
Nice.
But we have it now, and it's pretty nice. I like the extra damage.
Awesome. I've heard there is a. I was talking to Moose about there's a way that you can use it with the sword exotic for the Titans, because the bubble that you get, like the void energy, counts as like a sword if you have a sword on you.
Oh,
like, it counts as you like guarding with it. So I want to play around with that some more. Apparently it's dirty, like in Crucible, so I want to go and troll.
Is this the return of Middle Tree Void perk?
It might be, because that's my favorite. I love it. I love it so much. It was taken away from me. I miss it. I'm dealing with it.
Before we move on, guys, we got to pay some bills. This week's show is brought to you by the Ruinous Effigy. Are you tired of your enemies not being balls? Savathun's stink eyes got you feeling some type of way? Do you wake up at night in a cold sweat because you missed your shot to go pro in the criminally underrated PvP game mode of Rift? Well, get yourself the one exotic weapon that can solve all of these problems. With the Ruinous Effigy, you don't just dunk on the enemies, you just dunk the enemies. Get yours today for just 25 calcified light. Ruinous Effigy, putting the space in Space Jam since this Tuesday. All right, guys. We're moving on to to our big discuss. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. We're moving on to what we're calling big discuss. We're talking about leveling in Destiny, not just Destiny 2, but in Destiny 1. Perk, you felt very strongly that you want to talk about this today. Let's go.
So for those of you who don't know, and who kind of like just obscuring the question a little bit, if there's any missed parts in understanding, what I wanted to talk about specifically is the actual implementation of purely the leveling system in Destiny, the way that we've started it in Destiny 1, and all the way up until present, and encompassed in that, but also still on a separate track to me, is the number, like the light level / power level, like increments, and how we obtain those. And then also kind of the loot system running parallel to it, because it's sort of involved in the fold with it for leveling in Destiny. So for me, it's a big question mark, right? Because and here's my little spiel about it and the way that I feel about it is in Destiny 1, you would get XP leveled up to 20, and then from level 20, you would not level it up any further. Like you would not gain any levels. There was blue gear, I believe, that got you up to like a solid like level 20. From 20 to 30, like in the first vanilla days, that needed to be accomplished with legendary gear. So you had, and not guns, just the actual armor. I will specifically say, because the guns had their own level system to them. So Destiny has always had a bit of a weird go at it with it. For those of you remember, in D1 Vanilla, the top attack of a weapon, which is the way that their stats began, was 300. And the defense, which was part of your gear, went up to, I believe, 4,000 or so. There was like a number that we didn't really get any concrete understanding of how or what that number meant. But the most important thing, the thing that everybody looked at and that we know, is your level, which was tied to that. So, for example, if you were level 20 and you purchased legendary armor from a vendor, let's say, which required a certain amount of tokens from either the Crucible or Running Strikes, you could redeem them and get an armor set from the vendor. Compared to what we have today, where it's you can get you're getting levels incremental from world drops, and then powerfuls from weekly activities, and then pinnacles from the challenging activities like trials and the raid and stuff like that. Wasn't the same case in D1. You had vendor gear that would get you close to the level, and it was going to be stuff that you needed to get or drop from the world via your nightfalls or whatever. And that would get you up to, I think in Vanilla D1, it got you to 27. Then you had to run the Vault of Glass, and you had to get an entire complete armor set from Vault of Glass. The meme was forever 29. Because if you didn't get the helmet to drop from Atheon, you would still remain at level 29. You wouldn't hit the level cap of 30.
I do remember that.
So you would still be kind of stuck. So that was the early days of Destiny. You go over to the Taken King era, they kind of changed our levels back to, I think, 170 was the number that we kind of started the Taken King at. So if you had 365 weapons, which was the max before the Taken King, everything kind of reset to 170, and then we kind of started the grind again. And I believe the end level for Taken King brought us up to like power level 300. It's when they switched over. I believe actually
it was light level.
It was still light all through D1, I think, right?
Yeah.
So we've been on this journey with leveling, intertwined with our gear, requiring us to get certain drops. They've also changed even from the way that Destiny 1 did it into the way that Destiny 2 did it, where it was very much a, hey, here's the level that things are dropping at. This is your upper threshold. So then they went away. Then they went and did pinnacles. Because for those of you who are maybe new to the game and whatnot, pinnacles are still a new thing. Pinnacles are new enough that when the original weapons like the Redrix's Claymore and the Recluse, those were considered pinnacle weapons. They changed the name to ritual weapons when they added pinnacle engrams, which were not quite powerful. They were even better than powerfuls. So that's just hitting the tip of the iceberg for the way that leveling has gone in Destiny. And it's always been kind of weird.
Confusing. And like what you just said, where you're like, oh, they were rituals, and then they were pinnacles, and then they were something and something. And so it's confusing. We can say it for what it is.
Exactly. And that's why that's our big talk for today. That's what I wanted to talk about, because there is so much to it, and it's always been ambiguous. Like, right? Like in D1, we at least what we did to achieve that was pretty straightforward. It's like, hey, it's reset. You log in, you get your 3 nightfalls done. You see if you get your fire team rolled up. You're gonna run some raids. See if you're maybe going to get that Black Hammer or that Gallahorn or that Fatebringer, whatever it may be. You're running your raids, you're doing your strikes, you're seeing if you get better rolls of your gear and different stuff like that.
Also, the strike specific loot, that was something you could go for.
Beautiful. I remember the Hopscotch Pilgrim, my favorite of those.
Oh yeah.
Big pulse rifle fan, big pulse energy.
Or what was the there was that cloak that hunters could get, like the big red cloak that with no
That was from
Did we lose Lucas?
That was from. We may have lost Lucas. He froze. He done froze.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, he's there. He's there.
He's back.
He's back. He's a little choppy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm back.
It's okay. That's all right. Maybe we'll hook up. The cloak that you're talking about is the one from Taniks. The Taniks.
Yes, Taniks cloak.
Is where you can get that cool ass cloak. That was the first time you saw a cloak where you had the hood down for hunters.
Yes,
so you could
that's
see
why I loved it.
Helmet, which is awesome. So the theme was really cool. There was lots of unique different things that you could do, but ultimately in D1, you had some simple things to do. If it was Iron Banner week, maybe you put the raids to the side for a little bit. You jump in for Iron Banner because that was the other
end game activity.
Yep.
Before Trials came out. Yep.
That's how I hit max level to do the raids in the first time. I didn't get the raid loot. Like I was like forever 29 and forever 33. I think it was.
Do you remember how Infusion worked in the beginning?
The original Infusion, which was introduced in Taken King.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crap.
Terrible.
Go ahead.
All right. So before we move on to that, I'll talk about my experience trying to get high enough to raid the first week of raids. That was still when the loot cave was around, and I realized I didn't have anyone to play with. So much like my story from the episode 1 of this podcast where I rubber banded my sticks together during work and like left an Xbox running. I did that just to try and get exotics that would push me to the next light level, because I knew there was nothing I could do to, like, my pinnacles were all done for the week, and I'm still like, I need to hit like 26 or 27. I'm at 25, and it was a fucking nightmare. Fast forward to Taken King, we can now infuse stuff, which is great. But if you were infusing something that wasn't exotic into anything else, it didn't infuse up to the light level of the item that you were sacrificing. It was like halfway between or some weird math. And it was the most aggravating system. The first system was aggravating because like it was just straight RNG. I remember being sort of like an apologist to that back in the day. You're like, yeah, no, it's fine. Just keep doing the things until you get the gear so you can do the end game stuff. And then Infusion never really felt good until they fixed it to the way it is now. And even in the beginning of Infusion, materials for like enhancement cores have always been an issue. Like,
yeah, they have. I do remember that there was no 1-to-1 parity for Infusions when it first came out. And I was actually kind of sort of okay with that because, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I still am or what it was. It was kind of just it felt like a grind. It felt like when I finally maxed out a weapon, I was like, oh good, like this is my weapon and I feel comfortable with this weapon. Like this is my gun. Like I got the roll that I want. I got it infused up. So whenever I know that I'm switching to it for whatever activity, I know this gun's good to go. This gun is complete to me, and I can use it. That was also back when, if we're going to go back that far, we used to have to level up the gun nodes. You didn't get all the perks. Vanilla.
Oh, jeez.
Level up the perk slots for it and stuff like that.
So many levels of confusion again.
Level of confusion. The damage numbers, like the way the damage output functioned. I remember it was 300. Then for gun attacks, then it was 331. Then it was 365 at the end of D1's first year before Taken King. And there was just so much stuff. There was the etheric light where when they did sunset the first Fatebringer, we were still using it because it maxed out at 300. But the 300, the stat values of your weapons didn't affect your light level. So you could still bring in guns that were technically sunset. They would do individual damage that was a little bit less. You would have there was just so many different like stupid things that were the case. But it was its own thing. And I think when Destiny 1 came out, it was really the first kind of game of its kind. I know the Borderlands argument. I know it was the first looter shooter. But the way that Destiny handled things with the raids and all that other stuff felt so like worlds apart from anything else.
Raids were awesome. The weapons you got from them, like I thought that was cool.
That's the thing too, is the stuff in raids, like the Vault of Glass, going down to do that and stuff and getting Fatebringer and chasing that week after week, and trying to get that stuff was thrilling because that was your chance. You're like, all right, it's Templar. Like Templar's my chance. We're doing hard mode Templar. And there was like rumors where like, all right, you got to block the second teleport of the Templar because that gives you better RNG to be able to get the Fatebringer and like all this other stuff. Everybody was coming up with their own like.
I got the Mythoclast like the week before it was like sunset or whatever, and so that was my experience with the Mythoclast. Just I get a week and that was it, and so I barely used it. I got it finally.
That was there, and I at least got that one, and I never got anything since until the Anarchy.
And I don't miss that PvP like slight. Like it wasn't even a meta. You would go in and there'd be one guy with Vex Mythoclast, and you'd be like, all right, cool. I guess I'll leave this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like, what do I even do? So for me, when I look at that stuff and I think about that thing, and you're talking about the loot cave, man, it reminded me the loot cave. I found the loot cave like naturally. I came out of that back part in the Cosmodrome into that little area facing there, and I saw all these people. I was running like a story mission or something like that, and I saw all these people shooting into a cave, and I was like, what are they doing? So I saw the cave and I saw the engrams drop. So I ran up and got them, and I was like, whoa, like this is crazy. Like maybe it was some like event and something like that. And so I was like running around, and somebody messaged me. They're like, hey, get back here, stand behind this rock. It doesn't work unless you stand behind the rock. And I was like, oh, all right. Yep. And so like, and I just started shooting into the cave with them, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. My first character hit level 20 from the loot cave. Like that was my way to hit the first.
Same way, same here.
I didn't even know that it was a farmable thing. I had no idea. Like I didn't really go on the Reddit and stuff yet. It was
same. Yeah.
I just had hopped on to play a little bit, and I was like, "What is this?" And then it's legendary thing.
I remember when they switched over from the level being the gear level to the character level, and like freaking out, like, man, I gotta keep my fucking good gear on my guy and make sure that I'm like 26 or whatever when they do that, or like 30 or whatever.
So annoying when you had to keep the gear on.
Yep, I remember that. That was terrible.
Hated that.
Like, so going back to the infusion and stuff like that, there's never been a really good cohesive system that made sense, because my thought process is this: like when you play another MMO or another RPG or anything else really, and you're looking at your loot and leveling, it's two different pieces, right? You have an XP bar where you're like, you get XP for doing quests, dungeons, raids, what have you. That adds up into your XP. And there's more ways to get bigger chunks of it to level up, and the leveling is usually way longer in other MMOs and stuff like that. For Destiny, it was pretty much like you get your first characters through. If you're running with a good team, you can kind of hop on. I remember leveling up my alternate characters through Crota. Like Crota was the ultimate leveler, because you can kind of get backpacked through Crota, especially if you were, a raid regular. You knew what you were doing. You were just kind of like, hey, like, all right, we're up against the Thrall. My Hunter's level 26. I'm not going to really be doing damage. But I think if you had Gallahorn, your shots could still impact the shield of Crota. So you're at least like a body that was there to kind of like drop Crota's shield for everybody.
And if your sword person was high enough level, it was fine.
Sword person had to be high enough, which is crazy to even think about too, is that relic damage was dependent on the light level of the player using a relic too, which was
I think also what's interesting about that raid was it was so easily exploitable from the jump. Like you could solo from day one. Like you could jump from the first lantern up onto the side, jump, like run all the way down, jump on that last rock, snipe the ogres that spawn, and then just run down the bridge, and you're done with the pit. Now you're on the bridge, and like, all right, I guess I'm gonna jump to this thing and kill myself, and then at the very last second, Sunsinger res.
Yep.
If you were a Sunsinger with Icebreaker, you were on duty.
Sunsinger res.
That was your job. That was your job, was to handle all that stuff. It became like a really ritualistic thing, but also at the same time, like it was fun. And Crota, the Crota raid himself, that basically was the birth of raid layers, because Bungie looked at that and they were like, well, we can't make like a full like Vault of Glass-esque raid every single time, but we can do something like it. And everybody even looked at Crota as almost like he was like a hard strike, and this was before we even had dungeons and Destiny 2 and everything like that. But I think those fun, quick raids that have hefty mechanics involved I think they're really fun, and I think they've become, if you think about them, they've become kind of a core part of our gameplay experience, right? Because we don't do full run throughs of Last Wish, every week or anything like that. Like sometimes we do.
True.
Last Wish and what's the other raid? That's
Scourge.
Scourge.
Well, Scourge is a
Doing
raid.
a lot of Scourge lately.
Scourge is a lair technically.
Oh, it is. I thought it was an actual raid.
It's a raid, but it was released with the smaller expansions, and it's weighted the same as a lair. If you go back to the drawing board on it, yeah, Scourge is definitely a lair. The only actual full raids that have been in Destiny 2 are original Leviathan, Last Wish, and then God, the name of the one that we've run so much, the Shadowkeep raid.
Garden of Salvation.
Garden of Salvation.
Yeah,
Those 3 are technically the full raids in Destiny 2. The others are lairs, technically.
Interesting.
The way that they're handled in terms of like encounter counts and stuff like that. So Scourge, the 2 Leviathans are technically
3 Leviathans, 4 Leviathans if you count the original.
Yeah. The 3 Leviathan layers, Spire, and then Eater are all great layers and stuff. So, but let's run it back to how we're talking about doing the leveling system.
Right.
So in other MMOs, you have just a progression where it doesn't matter your gear, it doesn't matter what you're doing, as long as you're working on your character, as long as you're playing,
as long as you're doing something,
as long as you're doing an activity, anything, Strike, Crucible, whatever it is, you'd be leveling up, just an overall XP bar. And we kind of did see that. So like the game does track XP. They used to do it in the way that they would reward us with the glittering engrams or like the cosmetic engrams for each level up that we would get. That was their way of being like, okay, you've done enough XP to warrant this and stuff like that, right? But then you have your loot, and then you have the thing with the powerfuls and pinnacles, right? So we'll give D1 a pass because it was they kind of reworked it. It was a tumultuous development cycle. Not a lot made sense. They even themselves were like, all right, we're dropping this defensive number. Like these are too many things that actually don't really matter. So let's just give you some hard numbers that matter. Taken King really was a step forward, going, hey, here's a low level. When you're starting the game, you're going to get level 10 gear. That's your level, is level 10, all the way up. As you jump, and you make different jumps along the way up to 300. I think was the max for Taken King. And then when hard mode came out, it was another 10 levels. To increase the difficulty. But the thing that I want to say is, how do you guys think it could be better? Is there anything that you guys think would make a better system or a more logical system for leveling in Destiny?
Are we talking about D2 in the moment, like right now?
D2 in the moment, theory craft. What do you think would be a better way to take it?
I personally think that it needs to be I'm sorry if you were going to say something.
No, go ahead.
I just think it needs to be my background is instructional design, and it's all about making sure people can understand and learn things in an as easy a way possible. And right now it's there's still that confusion aspect. So for me, if I just know that I have to get a certain level to then be able to accomplish whatever a higher end activity is, to me that's really all I need. And then I can work on getting like better weapons that'll make me more effective as that, or better armor, or maybe better mods or something like that. I feel like the actual level should be tied to what I can or can't do. Like if I'm under leveled, I know I just need to play the game in whatever way I want to get to the higher level. If that means I just want to play and control all day, in Crucible, I can do that. If that means I want to run strikes all day, which would be Gino, I think he wants to run strikes all day. So, then that's what he would do. But like, it allows us to do what we like about the game, and still, when it comes time to do an activity, like we all want to do whatever new raid or a new activity that comes out. As long as we've all been playing, we all play most nights. So as long as we get to do, that, then to me that should be the base to get in there, and then the tweaking happens to make you more effective at it as you go through. That's what I like about it. Like I get to this activity, and then I'm like, okay, so now I'm at this activity. I'm already at level. I don't have to worry about it, and just do that. I see Jay smiling constantly.
I'm reading chat because Roger just went, "How do you know we're doing strikes?"
Okay.
Apparently they're in strikes right now.
That's so funny. I think
Great.
you know.
I knew if I said I knew they'd be doing strikes right now. I'm at like 5, and it's killed me already.
Yeah, it's a slog too, and I think
That
that
too.
that's something
Another
that
thing.
Do they have to be playlist strikes, or can you just do like a shadows 20 times and spend 40 minutes doing it?
But that's, to me, that's not playing the game. That's grinding to get to be able to play the game.
But that's Destiny. And that's how it's been since like
no right.
beginning.
I'm saying, and we're the question was, can we, what are some things to fix that? And I think part of that is, let's play the game to advance in the game, and then the tweaking can happen on the way to that. But when you get to the end game activities, you should be able to then, like, okay, now I'm in an end game activity, I want to be able to like modify or tweak to be better at it, not necessarily like where it used to be, where like it was always like, oh, you need Galahorn and who knows what, and otherwise you can't join us, you can't sit with us,
Galahorn. That was the thing. Sorry, Will. I'll
go ahead.
To go back on what Lucas was saying first. That's a big thing. Like we've talked about that a bunch. Is that and I think I was the first one to be cranky about this, because there's been times where you go on vacation, you take time off, or you miss a season or something like that, especially in the last kind of year of Destiny, where it's not been the most desirable thing to go run. I think back to the last season that I didn't play too much of with the whole Warmind stuff. I just clearing the vault, I was like, this is not a thing that I want to do weekly. Like, at the lore aspect of it, I liked doing it the first time, but it felt like them remixing a story mission, which is kind of funny, because they actually are making us do a story mission now, just straight up, and it's more fun. And I don't know if that's because there's slight variations to it. There's more dialogue. There's something interesting that's happening that I didn't feel.
I think that's it. Honestly, sorry to interrupt, but they're building towards something. Whereas before the Warmind thing, yes, I guess that was kind of building towards, you're trying to like stop the thing from crashing, and that was the initial build. But still, it's just like, that was just, I didn't want to do any of that.
There was never a sense of urgency.
Yeah, there was. You
never went to the almighty and tried to stop it yourself. I think look back to the beginning, we're building the story, Bungie in Destiny 2, and that was with the Undying Mind at the beginning of Shadowkeep, and everyone's like, all right, cool, we're real happy to grind out the same thing for like fucking 2 out of these 3 months straight, let's do it, and there's gonna be something cool. And then it was just the same thing with a different boss, and everyone was so disappointed, and that unfortunately set the pace for every season since. Opulence was this huge high note, interacting with Callus was amazing. Getting all that gear and the mechanics of getting all that gear was amazing. And you were rewarded not only with gear, but with Prestige Leviathan, Prestige Menagerie, Heroic Menagerie. And it required you to level up in a way. Like, it rewarded your leveling. If you look at what the other seasons have put out, like, it's the same level grind, minus like with experiments towards gearing. Can't fault Bungie for trying to figure out how to undo the monster that was Menagerie, because for like everything that was good about it, it still left a hole of like, well, now we don't have this going forward, and like that's what Sundial was like, figuring out how to do all that loot. It's fine, but there was no aspirational activity that was like harder mechanically. There was no like, it was just like, get all this gear, cool, you have it.
Now play everything again.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see the data, like of when, like, of people playing Destiny from like, okay, so here's Destiny 2, here's what people are playing, and then when they release a season, see how. I want to see. I'm sure there's some times where it goes like this.
Oh yeah, so the populations and stuff.
I would say,
interestingly enough, what's crazy is that last week's Iron Banner, the Crucible population apparently has grown so much, like in this season alone. This was the largest like active Iron Banner season of Destiny 2 ever.
I think it connection-based matchmaking, man. People are having fun now.
Yeah, because like, even though like, there's going to be some great teams that are going to come in and just stomp, Your games feel better on average. And even if you're like a pro like player and you stream the game nonstop, for those dudes that we know, someone was saying that like even their win ratio at the end of the day was still about like 65-70%. So it's like, unless they're with like a full team just stomping stuff out, and like we've done that too, right? Like we've handed out some whoopings on Iron Banner.
Yeah.
Because when you got everybody centered around the goal and you're like, all right, we're only taking A and C, we're going to do that, we're just holding. Like if you have a team that agrees that we're not going to go thirst for kills and stuff in a control game mode, you're going to win. Like if you have the communication for it. So I think that's been something that's good. I've always been an advocate for connection based matchmaking. We have playlists that are for elo based matchmaking where the game does its individual thing. I wanted to jump back to what you were saying, Lucas, is because this is those are the thing that I was the most cranky about. There's times where I come in to a season, especially in this last year. The menagerie was like the most perfect like point, I think, for me. Because you could influence your loot. You had a way to tell it, hey, I want this, this, and this. And when you level up your chalice enough, you're like, all right, I know that I'm getting that. Let's see what the other little bit. You're leaving a couple of perks left to RNG, which is fine. But there's ways that you were able to stack it. So that you're getting multiples. You had a chance to get the runes back. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. That was one of the best ways of actually getting the loot, I think, from the game itself. And I think this umbral system is great too. Like I love the umbral system. I think it's nearly as good as that situation, right? From the menagerie. But the other thing that I wanted to say is, as someone who likes Crucible way more than like just doing strikes, especially since I have categorically not been a fan of doing the strikes in D2. I like the strikes in D1 quite a bit. And D2, the strikes just don't interest me pretty much at all. But I love the raids. Like there's that slice of it where I used to, even in D1, I used to run Iron Banner Trials raids. Like those were my favorite activities to do, run them forever. But the thing that I wanted to say was, and we've talked about this too, is if you play in any other MMO and you're like, all right, well, it's time to level up, even let's say an alt character, you're familiar with the game, or a new season, you're like, all right, new level cap, here's what we're going to do. You can go in and just spam the hell out of the activity that you like. If you like strikes, you could just run strikes and level up, in other games.
Yep.
If you like PvP, you can just level up doing PvP. And then you can jump to the other activities that you need that level system for. Because ultimately, I've seen a lot of people go, well, if you don't like the system, then just don't do the system. And then you can just play Crucible and it won't matter your light level. Well, it's like, that's not actually true, because I want to do solo flawless dungeons. And to do those, it's a nice challenge that the game has, right? It's fun to do. Having that armor set that you're masterworking, and we talked about this last week on the podcast, the absurd requirement for speccing into Grandmaster Nightfalls is very, very tough, very, very difficult, almost reminiscent of original Nightfalls, where you go back to orbit if you failed, if you did a full wipe. That was the game's kind of way to give you a difficulty system.
And I didn't mind that, actually, just as a note there. I didn't mind that at all. I thought that was cool.
I didn't mind that either. And I think Grandmaster Nightfalls are in a decent spot with the way that they function. The gear min-max requirement that you actually want to have to be able to do them more effectively, and kind of that like little delta that you're able to create for yourself, because it's an activity where it's one of the few activities where the game is going to be at a higher level than you are. You're not going to be able to hit the level that the game is at, which I like. I love that challenge. But that's the caveat to that challenge, and the materials and everything that's required to min-max your gear. Now we have gear that's armor that's getting sunset. So you've had people that have spent tons of Ascendant shards and things masterworking gear sets, and now a lot of their gear sets are dying. Like they're basically getting a sit there.
Yep.
Which is something that you can say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. You could still use it in regular Crucible. Armor is different than guns. Guns, you're going to go back into Crucible and you're going to revisit those old guns. You're going to see Mountaintop and Recluse in the Crucible, and even Fellwinter when that gun gets retired to where it's only to be a normal Crucible weapon. You're going to see that stuff. And I think sunsetting guns is fantastic.
Yeah.
But my argument last week, like the distillation of my argument last week, is sunset guns all day. Down for it. I don't really think that much.
Keep the pool going. Keep it fresh. It's always different.
Keep it going. The armor And all that stuff should not be sunset. Or where I'm going to stick these two, because we're working into the way that the leveling system functions. I want to take a stab at an idea that I have for the way that leveling could be beneficial in Destiny 2 and have that master work and all that stuff matter. So hear me out on this. I'm gonna throw some theory craft at you. I want to know what you guys think about this. Instead of having armor intrinsically tied to having a set of slots and point values that they have, like each piece of gear has 10 levels essentially that you can get by putting materials into it. When you hit 10, you then have 10 points to decide how you want to dole out your perks. Concussive dampener, which is really, really useful in the newest dungeon. Very, very useful. It only takes up one slot. It's in the first slot on each piece of gear. Then you have things that are like raid exclusives, like your perks, where if you get an overshield, if you carry more motes in the Garden of Salvation, you get an increased damage if you stack multiplicatively on the perks into gear sets if you're doing the tether in the garden, stuff like that. Those different things for each raid and stuff compiled with the seasonal perks that we get from our artifact. Like this season we have pulse rifle loader and like things that make it where like pulse rifles are like the hot thing that's in the loot pool this time. And they've switched over that. Okay, well, if you want to take down anti-barrier or challenging mobs, you have to put it on either an SMG, an all rifle, or a hand cannon. They basically played a ring around the rosy with which perks were available. Instead of doing that, and instead of tiling the level system to all of that, rather have a piece of gear, have us need to spend time with the gear, a la Destiny 1, where we're either cashing in motes to level it up or just spending the time wearing the gear, getting XP put into the piece to where it unlocks all 10 slots, and then have any mod that we've unlocked, make the mods maybe have quests tied to them or have them only drop from certain activities. But when they drop, have them drop for good and let them stay in the loot pool. And if they need to be changed, like because they become too powerful in combination with something that comes down the line, let Bungie change the mods themselves, because it'll be an easier thing to be like, all right, 3 stacks of empowering light is too much. Let's drop it down to 2 as the max. Do those things, set up the mods as sort of a permanent thing that you unlock on your account. And if you're going to sunset gear, fine. But then when I get new gear and I level it, I don't want to have to put materials into the gear. Rather, all the work that I did to unlock the mods during that time is something that I have to wear the gear, doing activities of my choice to level up not only my experience and level number, but let it also be the thing that allows me to put the different perks and mods into my armor set. In doing that, take away the light level attached to gear and guns and just simply make it something that is standard like other MMOs. And the way that I think that they can do this well is the problem that I've always had is that I don't like having to run ringer, doing the whole loop of activities. I don't really like Gambit and I don't like strikes.
Same.
And it almost feels like I'm kind of, and we always do them, especially when new raids come out, because it's like, all right, well, we've got to do this. Like, for us doing the dungeon, you were gearing for the dungeon. We're like, all right, well, let's do it
all.
You
can choose not to, and your progression is slower.
Give me the progression slower. I don't mind that because, and I almost guarantee you, if you look at the numbers, like this is something that I would love to see. I would sooner play 10 Crucible matches than I would playing like 2 strikes, to be honest.
100% on me as well. But I'm a Crucible player like you, so that makes complete sense. But there are people who love strikes, so they should be able to only play that and not have to play Crucible, because there are people who don't like Crucible.
Yeah, like that's the like adding on to that thing. I think if there was a way where we could just play what we want, knowing that when a new and also still knowing that your time is maximized by doing all of the normal activities. So I get it. When a new expansion comes out, I'm going to be in the Strike playlist. I'm going to be in the Gambit playlist. I'm going to be doing all that stuff. But the way that I'm looking at this is how the game stays the most interesting for us in like that second month of an expansion kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At month 2, I don't have any interest really in doing whatever the thing was. It's good, it's great, but don't make me play it to where I'm just sick of it. Let me go play it because it's just something that I want to do anyway, and I know that my light level is going to get passively increased. I think also the reason that I'm kind of so strong on this, like, kind of separation from the way that Destiny has done its leveling in the past, is that they've kind of indicated that with the artifact, being that the artifact just levels you no matter what, and you get those bonus couple of levels, they understand it. They understand that it's something that you can do kind of in lieu of just beating your head against the wall all the
I
time.
think
Like, they'll drop
if I may really quick, I think what they could do as an aside is they could take the artifact and just lose the artifact and make that just abilities or something like that, or just make that part of the character, and then to me that makes more sense, and then it's something that can be changed, like you said before, if there's an issue or if there's a mod that affects it that makes you too powerful, they can just change whatever they want. And I think it would make sense. And also the other thing you mentioned about the armor, um, I don't mind that, but at the same time, the only thing is, if I'm going to be forced to wear, and this is a fashion thing, if I'm going to be forced to wear this piece of armor with this helmet and this thing, and I don't even like the look of it, I want. I definitely want to see ornaments for everything,
Right.
or to be able to change the look of it so that I can look the coolest that I think I'm gonna look, and still apply that. So like if I have if I have a no hood hunter cloak, which I love, I want to be able to rock that all the time. But right now I can't, or maybe there might be one that can do it now. I don't remember off the
Yeah.
top of my head, but
Guys,
it's just using it as an example.
we're running out of
know,
time, so I'm
Sorry.
gonna pose one more question on this, so we can kind of put a bow on it. So first, we do know transmog is coming, according to Luke Smith, from way back when. It is a system that's that's in the pipeline, but uh, I think so. We're dealing with this issue here that it's armor, and if you take away the season specific slot and specifically which armor sets are specific to which seasons, and then you take away like the mods which are unlockable per account right now, you kind of are left with sort of no reason to chase something once you've gotten the roles that you want. Like stat wise, like stats are important, and that's really the only thing that people are grinding out for those pieces of gear, especially because now you can change the element of those pieces of gear, so you no longer need like high mobility in arc and solar and void. You can change that. It's expensive, but you can do it.
Yeah.
So to me, I see like the sunsetting of gear as this artificial and not really the best solution for giving you a reason to continue to farm gear beyond looks, because they already know that they're going to do transmog and that's coming. So for what reason would you want to grind out new gear that you would actually wear instead of wearing as an ornament, right?
barrels.
Stat rules.
Right. But once you have the stat rules,
Maybe you like the look of the new gear, and it'll change the look of it. There's a couple reasons there. I mean, it could be look, it could be stats. I mean, it also could be, maybe I think I mentioned before, like if when you reach the end game, there's tweaks and things that you want to do per encounter. So maybe as these new encounters come out, new raids or new PvP activities, things like that, then you're going to spec differently. So maybe that means you put in different armors, but as long as I can still make it look like another armor, it doesn't necessarily, that shouldn't affect the roles or anything.
The other thing too with that is, when you think about it, is like I get what you're saying is like, what do you have to chase? Like, it sucks to do the dungeon and then you get the helmet and you're like, yeah, I got the helmet, and you look at the stats and you're like, oh, this is a 56 total max, and like I'm looking at like 8s and 9s and like maybe like a 12 or a 15 in one of the stats, where I'm like, I needed this to have this. There needs to be a way, and that's maybe a way that they can bring back, like, or add on to infusing, is if I've got like 10 of a helmet or something like that, and I'm really looking to get a stat to be better, give me a way that I can influence that aside from taking up slots that just add a flat value to it. Because I think when you add, like, I know that there's mods that you can kind of compensate for your min max builds in Destiny, but the thing about it is that you're still just diving at the stuff, and the problem with doing that is, all right, I'm going for this. I'm gonna get this piece of gear, and maybe I get the gear that I want, but it doesn't have the mods that I want. So even though I have good stats, I can't put the mods in there to help me run a Grandmaster Nightfall or solo a dungeon or something like that.
I'd also like to know, just as somebody who can't play as often as I used to, just off of that, like, I don't know. I want it to be easy to see, like, what the because like right now, like you said, 56, and I'm like, well, I don't. What's the max? What's the minimum? Like, I don't know. When I look at a piece of gear, I personally don't I don't know what is good or not. Like, I have to ask you guys. Like, that's why, like, in the chat, you'll hear me be like, oh, is this good, or is this good? And that's why you get me, like the Destiny hipster, who just, I'll use whatever I want as far as guns and stuff. Despite Jay audible sighing at me all the time. So
I'm like, what is that?
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing too, is like, generally speaking, like, I'll throw out, if a gear doesn't hit 66 or higher, I just chuck it. Or like, if it's a 65, I'll keep it, depending on what it is, or if it's something that's got like an extraordinarily good, like, single digit roll. I see Beetle.
Yeah, Budget Recluse right there. Beetle.
Which is funny because Budget Recluse is now a thing, and it's called Death Adder, and I have a really good
one.
Oh
yeah, I got a Budget Recluse as well. So I'm really excited about it.
Budget Recluse is in fashion right now.
Yeah.
It's but that's like ultimately the thing, right? Is there's so much to grind for that I don't think ultimately that loot should be tied to light level. That's my thought on it. And I know that it's something that you might say, like, okay, like, that's going to be a difficult position to take, and like, that's going to be something difficult for Bungie to like implement in Destiny, like, especially in Destiny 2, like the way that the game is now. And I don't expect this to be anything that they would just, like, switch over and drop, and they're like, hey,
it'd be a slow change over time.
They've started doing it, is my thing. With the artifacts are essentially what I'm asking for. It's cool that they have an infinite thing that they can do, that they're turned off in Iron Banner and stuff like that, so it still keeps it where someone with a ton of time is not going to be able to get that much higher than you for PvP activities. You don't have to worry about getting stomped and stuff like that. You just have to go, all right, well, am I hitting this level? Like, there's always been multiple thresholds that the game has been able to manage and have and implement pretty well, right? Especially when they brought trials back recently, a few months ago. Everybody was like, hey, make sure you turn off the artifact, because this is going to suck if it doesn't. Because there's going to be somebody who's never turned in a bounty last season. They're going to cash them all in at once, and they're going to start at artifact level 20. And so for the first weekend for trials, we're going to have to be dealing with this. They did deal with that, and like, it was good. But like, my thing is that you should just always be progressing. Every season and every expansion should just give you ways to get chunks of leveling, as opposed to just being like, all right, well, you're definitely going to get a gun from this that's going to matter. And ultimately, too, Lucas can attest to this, because we've done this 1,000 times in Destiny 1. How many cool blue guns did we get that were fun? I even had a green pulse rifle. It was just awesome. I remember that thing. It had like rodeo, and like, there's something about the aim assist, and like,
some guns just feel good to you, and if it's a blue gun, it shouldn't matter.
Exactly. That's the thing too, is I play other MMOs where like the loot doesn't really matter. It's just like, I can level up, and maybe this isn't going to have the same slots that a gun that I would want to have more on it would be. So it's maybe not optimal, but my level would be at a certain place, so my gun wouldn't. The stats of my gun.
And you have another challenge mode right there built in. Do these all with blues or something.
Yeah, anything. There's so much room to change the dynamic of what we chase, because there's so much to chase. But when you chase a certain amount of things, you're still not getting your materials back, which leaves this very like lopsided, like min-max like system in place, that you end up just kind of feeling. Somebody put this on Reddit, which resonated with me. They're like, I feel like I'm renting gear, like with sunsetting now. Like, I feel like I'm just renting it, because at the end of it, I'm going to get some of my investment back in materials. But ultimately, I wanted to just hunker down and be like, this is my gear. Like, in D1, I had a 130 intellect roll on the chest from Crota for my Warlock. It was absurd. Like, it was absurdly high that it would roll like that. It was like 1 in a million. I was like, this is my cloak for my Warlock. And I was set, and I was good up until they started sunsetting gear to make you get more gear. I don't have a problem getting more gear if what I laid out before, giving us a way and like a longer stretch to go through and unlock our mods, and let those mods persist. That's my thing, and let them be applied to a multitude of different sets.
I think
then I don't I don't feel bad about renting the gear at that point.
And a little more instruction on how to use them too, because there's a lot of people that get to a certain point and like myself, and just I literally like last week I was sitting there talking to Perk about it, just like, okay, what does this do? Because I can't. I'm in here for the time I do. I play the thing that I want to play. I've been doing the raids. I've been doing all this stuff, and I haven't needed to use them. I've put stuff in that I thought was cool, and I've been in like the new dungeon where I've played with people and they've been like, hold on, let me change my mods here so that I have this, this, and this, and I'm like, okay, I'm still playing anyway.
Yeah,
but
it's like, what's the difference? Like, why does all this stuff matter?
Yeah.
Beal saying that he used to love is using his blue guns and stuff. I think that's great. Like, I talk a lot about Elder Scrolls Online because I've been enjoying that before the most recent season of Destiny dropped. I'm doing dungeons and doing weekly like difficult activities with whatever. It's just that like my level is able to get me in the door. And the guns and stuff, like the stats could be better to min max like my damage output and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's not going to prohibit me from completing the activity because I don't have this.
Right.
But if you want to do that, if you want to wall that off, just let the mods be the mods. Let that be a catalog of stuff that we get over our time. Because then you literally loosen up the thing that everybody hates, which is like, I feel like I'm renting gear. Then you're like, I don't care. Give me whatever gear I drop. Perfect. Put this in because I'm going to load it up with mods. I found my role. This is going to be my thing for a while.
I know I'm going to put this mod, and this mod in my gear, and I really like the way it feels, and awesome.
And make it cost nothing to apply those mods because the cost will have been the work that you put in to get those mods in the begin with. For questing,
I gotta be able to go back and forth without paying for it every time, and because how many I think about just I know we talked about masterwork at some point, but just how much stuff do we even masterwork now? Do you even want to masterwork?
I have a handful of pieces, and that's
same.
That's my big thing is let us front load the work into getting the mods and the perks and stuff like that instead of backloading it where you're asking us to be like, okay, you unlocked all this stuff, now throw all your materials into it and it's good for a year, and then you're not going to have it anymore. I would rather the work be associated with that. Even give us long quests to get a mod. I don't care.
I think like we wouldn't feel so bad about sunsetting if we felt like we were getting stronger gear that was worth like replacing our stuff for. The problem is that like we had Mountaintop and Recluse back to back, and they've been just the center of all activities, not just PvP and not just PvE. So like I see this as course correct. They have to have some reason to sort of like get rid of those guns. They could have just nerfed them into the ground, and I don't know if I'm glad they did that or not. Like, or they didn't do that, and instead we're like having a essentially like a rolling reset on all this gear. But time will tell with the gear that we get to replace it. Right now, it's not great. It's just reprise stuff.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it doesn't actually bother me as much because when you go into different things, it was always, oh, you need Mountaintop, you need Recluse, and that's it. And so even if you wanted to experiment with something else or try something else, you couldn't, or you might have to fall back on it because what you're using isn't as effective to the point where like you're actually a detriment to your team if it's a raid or something like that if you're not using something like that. And I feel like by allowing sunsetting some guns and things like this, it allows you to then introduce new things. And again, we don't know what they are yet, but they could be cool. We don't know. And that might give us a chance to go back and retool like a Mountaintop and make a new Mountaintop that's not Mountaintop. And then you can use something similar to that, and people be like, "Oh, it's like Mountaintop, but it's cool because it's different, or it's not cool because it doesn't do as much, but it's still effective, whatever." But I still it keeps it fresh and it keeps you looking for new things, because I think that's something that happened that is currently in Destiny, like that does happen where you get to the certain guns and then you're using those and that's it. And I feel like part of the coolness of Destiny is there's so many choices out there. There's so many guns you can use, Like I was using the new Monarchy pulse rifle the other day just because, I'll use like a random sidearm. Like if anytime I go into Crucible, if you look at what I'm using, like it's always something random. Like occasionally I'll go in with like a Mountaintop Recluse just because, but most of the time I'm like sitting there working on some gun that everybody's like, you should not be using this, and I can get in top 3 a lot of times doing this.
Yeah.
So
I'm more concerned that you walked into Crucible with Mountaintop Recluse and didn't feel like really bad about yourself.
Well, I don't normally do it. That's the thing. Like, because, and usually if something is meta, I will actively try and not use it. That is me. And Jane, everybody else knows this. You know, it's just, yeah.
I'm also the person that I'm the opposite of that, where I'm like, I have no shame whatsoever in using what's meta. My favorite loadout is back, and I've been using it. And it's not quite meta, but it's effective, and I've made it work. Thorn, I use Felwinter's Lie and Striker Titan. That's what I did it all through D1.
One-eyed mask for you, I remember, because I was switching over to Titan in PvP, and you were just like, "Well, you're such an asshole for using that fucking headpiece," and I was like, I just want to see through walls and get shields.
I stand with One-eyed Mask as a Titan main forever, like since D1. I was like, you know what? I use this mask, and I realized its dark powers, and I understood them, right? And I was like, I see what this is.
This is worse than the darkness itself.
This is worse than the darkness itself. And I was like, I will not be responsible for this. So I put the mask away. The thorn, never put away. I used to get people message me all the time. They're like, put the thorn away. And I would just type back like, every rose has its thorns. I would just do that every time.
All right. Well, we just got DMCA'd for that snippet.
Yeah, that's us. That's us. I took us down. My plan all along.
all Perk's fault. Let's wrap up the discussion on leveling and move on to clan affairs. Our member of the week is Perk. Do the honors.
Oh, this is gonna be great. He's gonna love this.
The member of the week is X-Guardian 426. I started out talking about the runs that we were doing to get the Anarchy. And I spoke about myself, and for those of you who know me, you know that the game does not give me raid exotics. My job is to carry others to a treasure that I cannot possess. That's been me pretty much categorically. A lot of you remember that I never got the Fatebringer until late in the game. I didn't get everything. I still don't have 1,000 voices. I have over 50 chests opened in...
Yeah, rip 1,000 voices.
Like, we used to do 3 a week, like, instantly on Tuesday. That was, like, our activity. Last summer, it was just a thing. Like, I would just be like, all right, Riven. That's so Riven. Tuesday night. Caffeinds. That's the way that we would do it, right? But the reason that X-Guardian is our clan member of the week is last week, after seeing countless Anarchies drop for everyone else, and Anarchy being the only exotic that I really was interested in for the raids. Like, 1,000 Voices is more of the meme for us. But it's Anarchy, as we talked about last week. The difference is we ran six excursion pass this week. I still have the checkpoint. We're going to run some more. The last 2 runs, all 5 of us dropped Anarchy, but not X-Guardian. 2 runs in a row. Everyone gets Anarchy. And
I got 2 in a row.
I got 3 that off of those runs.
Oh, yeah. I got the 2. The reason is that Lucas has the luck of the Lucas. Like, if he calls something that happens, it will happen.
All right, I've got the clip ready.
We've learned. Play the clip and I'll talk over the clip.
Yeah. All right, here's what I can do this.
He can call the luck. Like, it's a momentary like
chat's going F for respects.
See that it's deserved. There's a momentary understanding of the luck, and he just places it on whoever he's placed it on.
I called it there. Gino's getting it.
But if he calls it and he tells you that you're getting it and you don't get it, you are cursed. And X-Guardian has the curse, which is why we've now learned that just like the light in Destiny, we're finding out that the darkness might be tied to the light. The curse of the Lucas is very much tied.
It is actually the luck of the Lucas. If you saw in the clip there, it actually does say luck of the Lucas, and the luck of the Lucas does trigger.
It worked. No, that's
it works.
We're not.
It is real.
It procs.
It does proc.
What we're saying is that if the luck doesn't go that way, it is like an absolute curse. Like
it's a debuff, you know.
Oh, it's a long debuff.
There's random rolls on the amount of luck that you can get.
But that's the thing. That's why
we got fake news from X-Guardian in the chat.
Gino, congratulations on being member of the week. We are just very happy that the meme lives on. It has left the body of Perk and has inhabited the.
Does the luck stack from the chat? I'm sorry, I just had to pose that to those that are the recipient of the luck.
I mean, I'll say this as someone who like may have had the curse like before. Like the curse may have been something that like Lucas took from me and gave it to X Guardian. I think it does stack because once I got the Anarchy, I got a bunch of other like really, really, really good rolls. I got lucky with some armor. Yeah, I would say that the luck stacks because when you get the debuff, you kind of get.
So you're saying it's a debuff, for the length of the time it is, and your actual luck is stacking behind the debuff.
Yes.
And then once you actually get the first one, then all of a sudden, it's like Christmas in Destiny, and you start getting everything. Have you done a 1,000 Voices run since the luck has been removed from you?
I have not done the 1,000 Voices run.
I am jumping in on that because we're all going to get it.
I haven't called it, but if you'd like, I can try and call it for you and see if the luck will trigger.
We want if you feel it, and I feel like that's if you do pass it on to me, I will be cursed for 1,000 years. I feel like at that point, I feel like
what about cursed for 1,000 voices?
That's how it works.
Well, there's a proven way to actually increase your luck in this game, right?
How would you go about that?
Oh, you got to stream, and luckily for us, we are starting the clan streams right here at twitch.tv/Caffeinds. I know from when I started streaming, I started getting a fucking bunch of great drops on stream. So Perk, you're gonna do Tuesdays at 7.
No, I'm gonna do Tuesdays. All right. Yes. I'm gonna be
no, I'm actually not doing it. No.
we're gonna start it off. I'm gonna kick it off next week, 7 p.m. On Tuesday. We're gonna do some reset stuff, so we'll jump in with 2 of us and get some stuff knocked out. We'll get some raids going, maybe. That would be nice to do on the inaugural stream. I believe we've got Space Moose lined up for Wednesday.
The Queen of Rat King.
Yes, the master.
Queen of Rat King.
We have Thursdays the podcast, which is today. Do we have a slot for Friday? Did we fill Friday out, or do we have that loose?
No idea. It might be Sean. It might not be Sean.
We're still figuring out our schedule. I know that
I could probably do one here and there if you need one.
Okay. Yeah, we're
throwing that out there live on stream.
Live on stream. He's booked. But yeah, so jump on in, follow us, hang out. We're gonna do more clan stuff, and actually a lot of these dischats, discords and chats is what I was trying to say. But yeah, I know Harogor just wanted to do Mountaintop Mondays or something like that. So, but either way, we're gonna have the schedule. You can see it down below. It's on Twitch, which Twitch
it's not there yet.
Feature.
It will be.
It will be though.
By the time that you watch this, it's gonna be.
It's live, Perk. We're live.
Of course, know that.
Oh yeah, can we just cut? Can we go from the top, guys? We gotta redo the whole thing.
Yeah, we gotta go back over that chat.
Just to finish off the scheduling, I'll be doing Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Lay out Saturdays with me. WillProduces. Moose is also going to be just Crucible every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
We're gonna end up being a Crucible clan before the day's up.
Yeah, we're gonna be the new phase.
I know he loves Crucible. I heard he really loves Crucible. I know that's Beetle's favorite.
I thought Moose loves Strikes.
Moose loves Strikes and Beetle loves Crucible. That's the lore.
That's deep lore. I also saw back in the beginning there should be a Caffeinds lore book.
We honestly we're going to do a lore book. We're going to do some superlatives. Most likely to die in the first run of a raid. Different things like that.
Oh, there you go.
Most likely to post a YouTube video that they haven't watched.
Yep.
All right. So last order of business here, guys, is we teased the giveaway. Now we're gonna do it. We've got this 12-month card of Xbox Live Gold to give away. The way you're going to do it is you're going to follow us at CaffeinsGG on Twitter. It's been the lower third this whole time. And you're going to tell us your favorite Destiny memory that involves your friends, your clan, or maybe just something you enjoyed doing. Lucas, I understand that you have a favorite Destiny memory.
Oh, he does.
Well, I think you actually you did show the clip of the one. Do you want me to talk about the other one?
Yes, please.
This one. Oh man, I just pulled a Harold Gorgeous on that one.
That sounded exactly like Peter.
I'm
gonna throw up.
I'm gonna throw up. No, but basically, it was back actually in Destiny 1 days, and I remember I think it was first Vault of Glass run for this particular individual, and there's that big chasm, if you will, but right before you go through the triangle door to get to Atheon? Right?
It's the gatekeeper.
The gatekeeper. Thank you. To get to the gatekeeper. It's been a while. And so you have to do that, this little jumping thing to get there. And I do remember this particular individual did a nice yeet off there and did the full Sun Singer straight down into the depths.
Add on to it happened because we forgot. You missed the most important part. It's the block, the teleport. So he jumps to one as it fell, and he just fell all the way down.
That's right. I forgot about that part.
Then he goes, whatever, no problem. I'm a Sun Singer. It's all good. He reses the block out under him.
And he just reses into nothing. That's right. I forgot.
He just straight up Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
It's the most beautiful thing. It might be in my archive of clips from, because this was back on PlayStation.
Yeah, we'll have to find it at some point.
Hopefully, we're gonna have to find it or reenact it when the vault comes back. Yeah, we may have a dramatic reenactment that we will make. This unnamed member also is our fire team, our clan member of the week. So
yes, so if you don't remember from the beginning, you can just rewind back and watch it again.
Yeah. All right. So, Perk, does that count as your favorite memory as well?
I mean, it's one of the most classic ones. I think if I had to pick a favorite memory, you know what? I'm gonna go with a favorite D2 memory. And actually, we should show this next week because you actually have this, Will. I stepped away for a few minutes, and everybody thought it was cool to push me off the tower.
That's just normal. That's what always happens.
Dave Perk, ride a cowboy.
That always gets pushed off the tower. And you thought it was cool, and I didn't unmute my mic when I came back, and I watched what was happening, and I was like, all right, let's get him. Let's get it close to the end. Let's see what happens. So right as you went for that last slide to kick me off, I jumped and hovered, and you went sailing straight off, and it was bliss.
I do have that clip. I'll download it.
Absolute bliss.
I might put it on Instagram and Twitter. So good.
Live on forever in the interwebs.
Perfect.
For me, that specific moment was up there. That was during the Bungie Game to Give stream we were doing for St. Jude, and we raised like $800 as a clan, I think, for that. So that was cool. It was a precursor to #SmoothWill. My favorite memory, we're gonna talk over. I'm gonna play it for you right now because I have.
Oh, okay, cool.
This is
a good
the
one.
jacket run. One of the As I began to hang out with this clan more and more, you can see my old ass overlay. This is when I became best friends with Moose. We became Purple Team.
Purple Team.
And this is when we got our raid jackets.
Squad.
I stayed up till 2 a.m. hitting this thing.
This was the thing. Doing the cleanse, hitting from across the way, making sure everybody stayed up. Doing this for the jacket was absolutely thrilling. I can't believe I didn't even think of this.
That's right. Ex-Guardian died there.
Yep, right. We had it. I was like, and I remember there was like a deflation because at that point we were just thinking, we're like, oh no, somebody died. I was like, no. I was like, no,
keep going, keep going.
It's fine. There's so little left. I think I was even chucking like hammers or something like that. I ran out of ammo.
Yeah. Everybody just threw everything they had at that, and
yeah, that was a great time.
Awesome jacket too.
Yeah,
it's love it.
I actually have it.
Yeah, mine's upstairs actually.
I'll put it on real fast.
Oh, man. Ooh, just got terrible off the first one. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah,
as he donned his raid jacket.
I'm looking for it. We have to do that
with the selfie at the end. We do have to do that again, don't we?
Yeah, I think the only one that we don't have to do is
Last Wish.
Last Wish, yeah, because that's technically you could exploit with checkpoints.
Right.
So
nice.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So yes, as we reminisce, you guys can do that with us, and you can enter our giveaway for a chance to win a year's worth of Xbox Live Gold. All you gotta do is tweet at us at CaffeindsGG. Make sure you're following both the Twitter and this Twitch. We will check. I will check. And if you're not following both, sorry.
We're gonna enter you in.
But yeah, guys, thank you for watching this week. Lucas, any last thoughts before we sign off?
Go Hunters.
Go.
All right, Perk, how about you?
Just silence from everybody.
I was like, kind of morose in that feeling. Yeah, no, just keep hanging out with us, keep watching. Yeah. We'll see you. I'm gonna kick it off on Tuesday with the first normal clan channel raid. Or yeah, you know what? Yeah, I was gonna say first stream, but we'll do a raid too. We're gonna do a raid. We're raiding on Tuesday. Fuck it. Do live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. All right, guys. We'll see you next Thursday. Or if you're on Spotify, we owe you an episode, so I'll see you right fucking now.